Good morning. Here we are, Hampton B. Ellen Library, Diane Welch, Steve Lear, just nice enough to take us on a tour, so ghost walk, a tour of the Wadesboro, and Caroline Hightower behind the camera there. And Steve, just start us out with how this interesting story.
Okay,
and
well,
just what we're going through.
it's my pleasure. I've done the ghost tour a few times around town here, so there's probably a lot of people because we've had some big crowds to take these ghost walks, and I've done them for a number of years, so it may be that some of your viewers have seen this before, and I'll try to get my facts straight and try to keep the same story then. But we always start our tour right here on the square in Wadesboro. You can see we're at Parsons Drug on the square. And I think this is a significant place. For one thing, it is on very high ground. And if you look around, you can see that no matter which direction you come from to get to the square, you're having to come uphill. So this is the high point in Wadesboro. And in fact, I've been told it's the highest point from here all the way down to the coast. And you may remember this because you and I are of a certain age. But we used to see satellite trucks parked all along the road here, like news trucks. And what I've been told is that it wasn't that something was happening here in town, but something was happening down east, and they were beaming the signal back to this high point and then sending it on to Charlotte. That was before. We don't see them anymore because now we have satellites in the sky, so you don't see those satellite trucks. But I mentioned that to say this, you know, mysterious things happen at high points and high places. It just seems to be there's something ominous about being on higher ground, and certainly we're on high ground here. I did check the elevation to see if the intersection down there at Wade and Lee Avenue, no, that's Leak Street. No, that's East Wade and Cemetery Street, Old Iceville Road. That at the Episcopal Church, that elevation is just a little bit lower than this one. And you can see too, this is the place where they viewed the solar eclipse here and on that high point down there too. But anyway, this is a high point. So mysterious things have happened at this location. One was right across the road here. Of course, those of us who've been around a while remember this used to be the Fox and Lion drugstore, and it caught fire and burned down. Certainly a tragedy. I think that the year before that was 1983, the year I graduated from college. And then on this corner over here, the courthouse used to be there, and that courthouse burned. And so this place has seen its share of tragedies in this location. And the place where we're standing right now, at Parsons Drugstore, it's certainly experienced its own tragedy as well. Back in the spring of 1912, the drugstore, the Parsons Drug has been around for a long time, but the building actually collapsed suddenly. I mean, it was suddenly. There was a construction project going on. They think that's probably what may have what led to it. But in any event, there were 4 victims from this collapse, and it made news all the way back to Charlotte. Oh, it was certainly a tragedy. 2 of the victims were sisters. They were Laura and Marion Little, sisters who were teenagers. I don't remember their exact age, but teenage sisters. I understand they were sitting at the counter very close to the door, but the collapse was so sudden that they could not get out. There was another victim, a 3-year-old child. Her name is Virginia Covington, and she died immediately. I think her body was found in the basement, her lifeless body. She was with her grandmother at the time, the wife of Dr. Covington. You know, Covingtons have operated a medical practice here in Anson County for a number of years, so it goes all the way back to then. But she died not immediately, but a few days later. And so 4 victims of this tragedy, and it certainly was one of the most tragic events that's ever happened in downtown Wadesboro. Now, the mystery of it is this. Some of the neighboring business owners have said that on occasion they hear a child crying. And they don't know where it's coming from, but it seems to be coming from a basement area. And I have heard tell long ago where folks did not want to go in the basement of this building. But when I told this story one time and somebody said, "Oh, we've heard a child crying, we didn't know where it came from." So it could be that the the spirit of little 3-year-old Virginia Covington is still crying for her grandmother or perhaps her mother. And we'll visit her gravesite in the Eastview Cemetery in a little bit, and you'll see that she seems to be all alone out there. So maybe she's crying out for the company of either her grandmother or her mother. But that has been, some people have told me they have heard a child crying. Now, that's only in the basement. Please come here and visit Parsons Drugs. They are nice folks.
Yes, they
I come
are.
here during the day all the time, and it is a nice drugstore, and they're a very good business to have in our
Yes,
town.
they are.
Don't be afraid to come visit
We're
Parsons
blessed
Drugs.
to have them. Yes, we
Just
are.
don't go in the basement.
But we are excited to hear the history of this.
Yes.
And
So that's the first stop on our
that's
ghost
the
tour.
first stop. Here we are at the second stop of our ghost walk tour at the Levitt House. And Steve has some interesting stories to tell us about this.
Well, I do, in a personal experience, actually. Now, this is one of the oldest buildings in Wadesboro. In fact, it was built as a residence by a man by the name of Norfleet Bogan. We'll visit his gravesite in a little bit. I'll show you where he's buried. And of course, he is kin to Patrick Bogan, uncle, nephew, I'm not sure the exact relation, but anyway, he's in that family. And he built this as his home in, I think it was 1839, I want to say, somewhere in the 1830s anyway, and sold it in the 1860s to a man who turned it into a boarding house. So this started as a home, then became a boarding house, and now it is the home of a museum that the Anson Historical Society owns. So there are a lot of neat artifacts in there, and so it's had a long and varied history. But Diane, you probably know this for what it used to be for many, many years, as do I. Do you remember what it used to be?
Levitt Funeral Home.
It used to be a funeral home.
Yes.
That is correct. This was I guess the original location of the Levitt's Funeral Home, certainly before it moved out to the Highway 52 and the end of Morgan Road. But anyway, yes, being an old house, structure, and then a funeral home, we felt like certainly there's got to be some interesting spiritual activity happening in this building. So the Historical Society contacted a paranormal organization to come in and bring in their equipment and do this scientific study to see if there is spiritual activity in there. And I was here the night that they came. They did come at night, and I was here when they came, and I experienced something that to this day I cannot explain. Now, when we went in and they set up their equipment and all, certainly there was what appeared to be some electronic spiritual energy in the building. But the most amazing thing happened before we even went in the building, and it happened right here. This is where the guys parked their truck and started unloading equipment to carry in. But when they parked the truck here, and I was standing pretty close by, about where I'm standing right now, when he parked his truck here and the guy was on the back unloading the equipment, I want to say he fell off, but he didn't fall. It was so strange. It was like somebody pushed him off of the truck. I mean, I witnessed it. I was here and I saw the whole thing, and it was not a fall. It was like somebody pushed him off that truck, or maybe not somebody, maybe something or some force. Maybe it was something inside giving us warning that they did not want to be disturbed tonight. But that was the weirdest thing I have ever experienced. And some of the other folks who were here with me, they saw the same thing. And they knew that was not a natural fall. It was almost like he had been pushed off. And like I said, once we got in the building, got things set up, there was some recording of spiritual activity. Even the paranormal folks were amazed at the amount of activity, the spiritual energy that was inside. Now, that happens at night. Come during the day, because this is a nice museum,
Yes,
and
is.
they have a lot of good artifacts. Don't be afraid to come during the day. But I would not spend the night in this building. I do not care to do that. But please come visit during the day sometime.
Yes, we've been in and we have just recently done a virtual Tommy Allen with Steve Leary's the donations that he's done,
Okay.
military stuff.
Yes, yes.
So yes, it is perfectly safe during the day.
Just don't spend the night or come at night and try to disturb the spirits here. That really happened. That was still amazes me of how that happened.
Here we are at our third stop on our journey today with Steve Lear and our Ghost Walk tour. And so, Steve, just share with us what we're seeing here at the Ansonia Theater.
Most certainly, and everybody recognizes the Ansonia Theater. Recently, it has become a place where you go to see marvelous plays. I'm just amazed at the excellent talent we have in the community. So now we see plays there. When I grew up, and maybe when you as well, remember it as a movie theater where we came to the movies. And it started out as a live performance theater back in 1925. A man named Lemuel Lanier Drake opened the movie theater here in 1925. They just celebrated their 100th birthday last year. So it certainly has a lot of history in our community. And now folks who have been in there a while, like I was in some plays, so I got to spend a lot of time in the theater here, sometimes at night. And I also worked at the Arts Council here for a while, so sometimes I was here by myself late at night. But folks who have spent some time in this theater know that something strange is going on in the theater. And you can talk to a lot of people who have been in plays, and they'll attest to this fact that there's just something mysterious going on here. Sometimes lights would just come on automatically or turn off. Faucets would come on and off. I know when I worked here at the Arts Council, we had a problem with the alarm system just randomly going off sometime in the middle of plays. So something was causing something to happen here. But it never bothered me from being here late at night because it wasn't anything really mean or evil. It's just more like mischievous that was happening. But something was happening here. So we felt like there is a spirit here in this theater. And we weren't sure exactly who or what or why they were here. We did a ghost walk one year, and we were inside the theater. And I think Gina Clark was telling the story about all these mysterious things that happened. And one of the participants in the ghost walk took some pictures. As I encourage people to take pictures during ghost walks because sometimes the camera picks up things that we can't see with the eye. Well, a little bit later, this person sent me a message and said, "Look at this picture I took inside the theater." And I could clearly see the outline of a man standing in front of a door. And she said that man was not there. And I said, "No, it's obvious he wasn't there. I have a copy of that picture. I don't know if we can pick it up with the camera, but if you'll look here, do you see a man's figure? You see his white shirt and his tie and probably his hands right here. Can you see that white shirt?
Wow.
And a little thin tie?
So
I'll put it right here. It may be difficult
amazing
to see with the camera, but there was not a person standing at this door when they did the ghost walk. You see the white shirt, the little thin tie. It's like a man's hands right here. You can't see the face clearly, but certainly the figure of a man standing in front of that door. So it was a mystery to us for a while, but we figured, okay, there's our spirit. There's the ghost of the theater. Well, Leslie Capel, who has worked with the theater and the Arts Council for a long time, she was looking through some of the old files, trying to get some history of the theater, and she ran across a picture, and she said, "That's him. That's our man with the white shirt and the thin tie, and this is Mr. Drake, who opened the theater." And when you compare this to the figure in the picture, it certainly looks like that could be Mr. Drake. So just like with the Levitt House, we had a paranormal group come into the theater, and they set up their equipment, and we asked questions. I was also in attendance for that one.
Okay.
And we asked questions, and they had some electronic means to which the spirit could answer. And we asked the spirit, who we assumed to be Mr. Drake, "Mr. Drake, are you happy with what's going on with the theater? And he said, he indicated yes in the spiritual flashing of lights. He indicated yes that he was happy. He was pleased with what we had done with the theater. And certainly he should be, because it is a beautiful, beautiful theater nowadays.
It certainly is.
So we still couldn't understand, well, why is Mr. Drake being so mischievous or calling so much attention to himself if he's happy with what we've done with the theater? Well, I think I finally solved that mystery. I saw a picture of his crypt in the Eastview Cemetery. We'll visit it in just a little bit.
Okay.
His name has been misspelled on his crypt.
Okay.
And maybe he's trying to draw attention to the fact that somebody wrote my name wrong and just wants it to be corrected. But how do you correct something that's been chiseled in stone? But it's good to know he is happy with what's going on in the theater. He is not a mean spirit at all. Please come here and watch a play. You will enjoy it. Come visit the Arts Council here. It may be you feel a little presence beside you, but it's all in good fun. Mr. Drake really enjoys what is happening with the theater here. So come by and visit sometime.
Yes.
But there is some spirit going on. We think we know who it is, and now we think we know why.
Okay. Here we are at our fourth stop.
Yes.
And our Ghost Walk tour. And all of this goes right along with our summer program theme, which is unearthing a story.
Oh, wow.
And we're certainly doing that this evening, and we thank you, Steve. So we'll just continue on with our tour.
Okay, well, we are at the site of the Bogan Hammond House and the Alexander Little Wing. And these are the oldest existing residential buildings still in Wadesboro. The one in the back was built first. That is the Bogan Hammond House itself, and it was built in 1796. So it's been around for quite some time, and it's taken some restoration from the Historical Society to keep it up. The building in front is the Alexander Little Wing, which was added in the 1800s. So if you go inside the buildings, which I'd encourage you all to do, set up an appointment with the Historical Society with Steve Bailey. Come by the Historical Society office, which is right next door. And the building back gives you a glimpse into life in a house in the 1700s. And then you can fast forward in time to the front house here to see life in as it was in a house in the 1830s or so.
It is fascinating because we have done a virtual tour here and enjoyed it so much.
Right.
Steve and Cruz did it for us. Cruz Carpenter.
Oh,
Noah, who is helping.
Okay, well, let's step inside between the two houses, and I'll just tell you a little interesting story about the builder of the house in the back. Of course, the builder was Colonel Patrick Bogan, a Revolutionary War hero, a historical figure in Wadesboro, and a wealthy man at one time, but he died poor because he gave all his money away. He gave a lot to his children, but he also gave a lot of land to build the town of Wadesboro on. This is good right here. Let's just stay right here.
Okay.
So he died penniless, and his death is certainly a fascinating story. He had already given this house to his daughter. He had 7 daughters, I think, and so he had 7 houses, and he gave them to all his daughters. And he lived here with his daughter. He called her Nellie, and he was going to feed his animals one day, and his animals were stored about where the Eastview Cemetery is now, not too far of a walk from here through the woods or through that area. And he never returned home that day. He died actually in the cemetery before it was a cemetery. He was the first person to die in that cemetery, but he's not buried there. So he had a sudden, mysterious death there and never made it home that day. Now, if you'll notice, there's a marker over here, and it gives us some clue as to where he is buried. Like I said, he's not buried in the cemetery. We'll see some of his family members when we go over there, but he is not buried in the cemetery. But this marker says, and I can't really read it now, but I believe it says that he is buried 400 yards south of this point. So my natural compass would say south would be that way down Morgan Road, 400 yards about that way. Not too far down that road, but he's not buried there. this marker was moved here. It used to be out on Highway 74 near the school bus garage, and when they widened Highway 74, they moved the marker. So they moved it to this place. So he's not buried 400 yards south here. He would have been buried 400 yards south of where it was on Highway 74, which is somewhere across from the bus garage toward Coffee Pot Road area. John Dunlap, who was one of Anson's leading historians, said he knew where he was buried at there, but he never took anybody to show where it was. So to this day, we do not know where Patrick Bogan is buried. It makes me wonder sometime if his restless spirit still roams the town trying to let people know where he is buried. We don't know. One of the leading members and founders of our town of Wadesboro, he gave all this land. We have no idea where he is buried at. Colonel Thomas Wade, who Wadesboro is named for, another Revolutionary War hero, we don't know where he's buried either, because his burial site is somewhere probably under the Bullet Falls Lake. We think that he was buried somewhere in that area, and when they flooded the area for a lake, it covered up his grave. Now, I don't know why Patrick Bogan would be buried out there in that area across from the bus garage. I mean, his house was here, he lived here, he died close by, and I cannot for the life of me figure out why he would be buried out that way. But according to this marker who was there, that was there at one time, he was buried out that way. But I think his spirit probably is still trying to let somebody know where he is at. But don't let that stop you from coming to visit these homes. He won't bother you a bit. Don't let that stop you from coming to visit the Historical Society and check out the many resources that are there, including a lot of genealogical resources. And by the way, a lot of subject of this story, of the stories I've been telling you, comes from a book that you can get in the Historical Society, The History of Anson County by Mary Louise Medley. I have a copy of that book. I love reading it, and I got a lot of material from these walks, including how and when and where he died from that book. So I'd encourage people to read it. And it's such a fascinating project that you've got about unearthing a story, because there's so many stories here that need to be unearthed.
Absolutely.
So I've enjoyed doing the walk. We'll go to the cemetery and look at
good.
some grave sites there, if that's okay with you guys.
Okay.
So here we are in the Eastview Cemetery, and we're going to find the graves of some of those people that we talked about in our ghost walk. And it's fascinating to find out where they are and to try to figure out why they are where they are. But let's start with this one. We're in the oldest part of the cemetery now, and this elaborate monument is for Norfleet Bogan. He is the one who built what we now know as the Levitt House, and he was kin to Patrick Bogan. And over here we have, on the other side, you can read the inscription, but this is the grave of Eleanor Bogan, Patrick Bogan's daughter, who he gave the house to. He called her Nellie, but this is Eleanor Bogan. Interestingly enough, her husband is buried right there. They weren't buried beside each other, and I'm not sure why. It may be when they died, in what order they died, and it doesn't really say when she died. It just says how old she was, the number of years, months, and days, but it does not give her birth date or her death date on the tombstone. It's amazing also what people put on tombstones. So hers is a little bit different. His does say when he departed this life. He died on April 30th of 1855. So up here in the oldest part of the cemetery, where people were first buried, you will find many who were in the Bogan family. Notably absent here is Patrick Bogan, because remember, we don't know exactly where he's buried, and even though he died somewhere in this location before it was a cemetery, he's buried somewhere of unknown whereabouts. So his family's here, he is not. And these are some of the Bogan family, and we'll move on to see some of the other members of our Ghost Walk. So when I was looking for the graves of those people who died in the collapse of the Parsons drugstore, some of them were kind of hard to find, but these victims were not very hard to find. I knew it because they were sisters, so they were close by to each other, and they were littles, and I knew it must be in the older part of the cemetery. So I almost walked right to the graves of Laura and Marion Little, the teenage girls who died in that drugstore collapse. Appropriately, they're buried right beside each other because I'm sure they were buried at the same time. But here are the graves of Laura and Marion Little.
And this
1912. Yeah. There's so much history up here.
Yes.
So many stories. So here's another of the graves of the one of the victims in the Parsons drugstore collapse, which was not hard to find because I knew she was a Covington, Dr. Covington's wife. So I saw the Covington crypt name here, and lo and behold, there she is right there, Ella McCrae, wife of Dr. James M. Covington. So hers was pretty easy to find. The hardest one to find was the grave of the child that died, her granddaughter. So I thought maybe somewhere close by to her here, but I didn't see her anywhere here, and I had to look quite a ways, and I finally found her on over here. If you want to, we'll walk over this way.
Yes.
I don't know why she's buried over here, away from the grandmother. They died about the same time. The grandmother died about 3 days after the collapse, and the child died immediately. But I finally found her in this group of graves in here. Let's walk inside. And these are not Covingtons. So I don't know how she ended up here, and she's kind of alone back here in the back. Nobody buried around her, so I don't see any parents' graves or anything, but this is her. Miss Virginia May Covington. And I can't really make out what it says on here. And it has some writing on the back here. But I think one time when I saw it, oh yeah, you can see Parsons Drug Store. So it references how she died on the back of her tombstone here. But I wish there was some way we could preserve some of that before it totally goes and people will not know what was written on there.
Exactly.
But this is the grave of the little 3-year-old Virginia Covington. Again, I don't know why she's here. You can look around, nobody buried near her, but she does seem to be in some kind of family plot here, whose names I don't recognize and don't really match hers, so I'm not sure why she's here. So here we find the grave of Lemuel Lanier Drake, the founder of the Ansonia Theater. And like I said, I think the reason Mr. Drake's spirit is so restless is that his name is misspelled on his crypt here.
That could be it.
And we can't erase it. But I think it is supposed to be spelled Lemuel, not Eul, as you see it here. And Mr. Drake wants to get his name right. Who can blame him? As we end our cemetery walk here, I did want to point this one out. This is the most unusual tombstone, probably the only one in North Carolina in Mandarin Chinese. Wong Bo is not a subject of our ghost walk, but he could be because he was murdered in one of Wadesboro's very infamous murder, and maybe his spirit still roams freely in the streets of Wadesboro. And of course, like so many others, he's buried out here all alone by himself, no family around. So I would encourage you guys, come out and do our cemetery walk sometime. I know y'all filmed it one time before, somewhere during the COVID years, but it'd be worthwhile to come out here and do the walk again sometime, and let's explore some more folks in the cemetery.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it is very interesting that we wind up today with this.
Wong Bo.
Wong Bo, yes, yes. And Diane Welch from the Hampton B. Allen Library, Steve Lear, Caroline Hightower behind the camera today, and just thanking you, Steve, for giving your time and for all of the research that you have done. It's just so interesting, and thank you for providing this tour for us today.
You're very welcome. My pleasure. And
we hope that everyone is going to enjoy it and look forward to the time whenever Steve is going to be doing one later on, a ghost tour. So,
yes.
Okay. Thank you.